Okay, I feel like it is established now that I am a lesbian. Unless you're brand new here, in which case, hi, I'm a lesbian. And I'm a big fan of sapphic vampires. Again, unless you're new here, in which case, hi, I'm a big fan of sapphic vampires. Hey there, creepy peeps. My name is Nightmare Maven. Welcome to my channel. Today, we're gonna be talking about First Kill. I think I gave enough time, or a good cushion of time, between the show releasing and the making of this video, so I feel comfortable giving some spoilers. I'm not gonna go into like heavy detail on everything that happens, so if you still intend on watching the show, you'll probably be a little safe watching this video. So First Kill is based on a short story of the same name by V.E. Schwab. It's featured in a YA horror anthology called Vampires Never Get Old. The entirety of that short story is just the first episode of the show. So everything that follows is completely new. It's just a super quick story about a vampire and a monster hunter who are both getting ready to experience their first kill, whatever that means for each of them. And they also find each other kind of hot, low-key. I really liked the short story. I'm a sucker for anthologies anyway. I have a whole shelf just dedicated to anthologies. I loved how tight the story was. There was just so much sweet sapphic longing, and the abrupt ending after Calliope fails to kill Juliet. So she's running to leave the party and she looks over her shoulder and sees Juliet, you know, watching her from a balcony in the house, and they just smile at each other, and then that's the end. And I love it. I love the abrupt ending. The show obviously expands on all this and very much leans into the Romeo and Juliet trope. You know, two houses both alike in dignity, blah blah. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, blah. And apparently, V.E. Schwab, according to an interview with AV Club, wrote the short story with a pilot in mind, saying, while the short story really focuses on Juliet and Calliope, it was always my hope that it would become a show about family. Being at the age when your identity goes from being a family identity with all of the family indoctrination that you're brought up with, to that moment when you have an individual identity and you have to decide if you're going to go a direction that might oppose the way you've been raised. And there is an interesting consensus on the internet about the show adaptation that it is not a good show. There is a lot of love for it because of how soapy it is. And I'll just say right off the bat, I'm not a fan of soap operas. I never got into them, but I know there's an audience for it. So if that is something you're into, highly recommend this show. Speaking of audiences, I have no idea who the intended audience for this show was. But the main couple are teenagers. Calliope is human, so obviously she is just a teenager, and Juliet is a born vampire, so she's thus far aged normally into a teenager, so they are both legitimately teenagers. But then were teen shows always this adult and I just never noticed? I definitely felt a little weird watching it as a 30-year-old because I'm like, oh, these are meant to be teenagers. And in my brain, I know the actors are not teenagers. That's a nice segue to talk about how I felt about the show, which was, in my opinion, poorly constructed. The dialogue was pretty cringy and very expository a lot of the time. They added some deep lore into this like story that definitely wasn't in the short story, but the only way they had to convey this to the audience was to have a character explain it, which is just clunky and not natural. And they didn't want to spend too much time explaining it, so a lot of it was kind of just felt like it was thrown at us in the hopes that we would just kind of just go along with it. There's a whole thing with like the snake thing, the Emerald Malkia, that is very important to legacy vampires, which is also a whole thing they introduced in the show. Basically, they can walk in the sun, eat normal food, and they're harder to kill. And then apparently in this town and the world, I'm assuming, everyone is aware that monsters exist, like ghouls, vampires, zombies. They're aware that they exist. So there's that's never explained. And just a heads up, if you are still watching this and you haven't seen the show yet and you plan to, I will just let you know, none of the plot lines get resolved. in these 8 episodes. There is not a single thing that is wrapped up at the end of this. And that's gonna be really disappointing if this doesn't get a second season. But because nothing was wrapped up, I don't really have confidence in a second season. I would be scared to devote my time to watching it, because what if they also don't wrap anything up at the end of the second season? If perchance this is actually meant for a teenage audience, I think the show does work. The characters really do seem like normal teenagers, like they're really awkward and everything is life and death, which kind of makes it a little like tongue-in-cheek because, you know, when it comes to like vampires and monster hunters, it is life and death. And maybe, I mean, who am I kidding? Definitely, because I'm older, I was low-key kind of rooting for the moms to get together, because look at these women. They are so hot. That would have been a show I could overlook some soapiness for, I think. I think the soapiness fits the vampire trope pretty well, and it kind of fits the sapphic trope really well also. So a few of you validated me in the comments of my incantation review. So I'm gonna go ahead and, for right now, continue not giving a numerical rating. Overall, I think the predominant feeling I'm experiencing with the show is disappointment. I think it had a lot of potential, which is just what makes it more disappointing for me. And if this were to get a season 2, I'm not really sure what Netflix's criteria is for deciding what they give more seasons to or not. On the chance that it gets more seasons, I'm like 99.9% confident I'm not gonna watch it. If you've seen First Kill, let me know in the comments what you thought about it. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new here, become a creepy peep today. I will see you, when does this video go up? Oh, I'll see you on Friday with a review of Nope. Until then, stay strange. Bye.